everything. There's a rare kind of strength that doesn't shout, doesn't rush, and doesn't crumble when the world gets loud. It's the strength of calm, everything. In a world built on reaction, where anger spreads faster than reason and chaos demands your attention, calm becomes your superpower, everything. This audiobook is not about escaping life's storms, but about learning to stand in the middle of them, unshaken, centered, and in control, everything. When you train your mind to stay calm in every situation, you no longer live at the mercy of what happens. You live from the power of how you respond, everything. There's a quiet power that most people overlook, the power to remain calm when everything around you is in motion. Think about it, anyone can feel peaceful when life is easy, everything. When the phone isn't buzzing, when no one's testing your patience. But true calm, the kind that changes your life, shows up when things don't go as planned. When your heart races, everything, your mind spins, and you feel like you're about to lose control. That's where the real training begins. Most people believe calmness is a personality trait. They'll say, everything. She's just naturally relaxed, or he's born that way. But that's a myth. Calmness is not genetic, it's trained. It's built through awareness, repetition, everything, and the rewiring of how your brain responds to stress. Neuroscience shows us that emotional regulation is not just willpower. It's biology, and it's changeable, everything. You can literally train your nervous system to return to balance faster, to recover quicker, and to stay centered longer. Let's start with the brain. Inside your skull, everything, there's a constant tug of war happening between two major systems, the limbic system, which reacts emotionally, and the prefrontal cortex, which thinks rationally. Everything. When something stressful happens, a text message, a tone of voice, a sudden problem, your limbic system fires first. It's ancient, fast, and emotional. It doesn't wait for logic, everything. It floods your body with signals that prepare you to fight, flee, or freeze. Your heartbeat accelerates, your muscles tighten, your breath shortens, your body prepares for survival, everything. But here's the thing, most of what stresses you today isn't a physical threat, it's psychological. It's an email that feels like criticism. It's the uncertainty of the future, everything. It's someone misunderstanding your intentions. Yet your brain responds to these as if they were tigers chasing you through a jungle, everything. That's why calm is so rare, because your body is still running ancient programming in a modern world. Now, this is where the science of stillness becomes powerful, everything. The prefrontal cortex, the rational, logical decision-making part of your brain, can override that survival response. It's the part that pauses and says, wait, everything. Let's assess this before reacting. When you practice calmness, when you breathe deeply, observe your thoughts, and delay your reactions, you are strengthening that part of the brain, everything. You are literally reshaping neural pathways that allow calmness to become your new automatic response. Imagine this every time you choose not to react in anger, not to panic, everything, not to rush. You are rewiring your brain. It's like lifting weights for your emotional stability. The more you do it, the stronger it gets. At first, it's uncomfortable. Everything your mind will resist. It will scream, do something, fix it, argue back. But when you train yourself to sit in stillness, everything, something incredible happens. The chaos begins to lose its grip. There's a story I once heard about a firefighter who spent over 20 years running into burning buildings, everything. When people asked how he managed to stay so calm in chaos, he said something simple but profound, because panic burns more oxygen than fire. That's the truth of emotional mastery, everything. When you panic, you lose clarity, you make small problems big. But when you stay calm, you conserve mental oxygen. And that oxygen is what allows you to see solutions that others can't, everything. Let's bring this closer to your own life. Think of a moment when you felt overwhelmed. Maybe a conversation that turned tense, or a situation where everything seemed to go wrong at once. Everything. Replay it in your mind. How did your body feel? Were your shoulders tight? Was your breath shallow? Was your mind racing? Those signals are your nervous system at work. Everything. They're not signs that you're weak. They're signs that your brain has detected danger. The key is learning to signal back. Everything. I'm safe. One of the simplest ways to do that is through your breath. Deep, everything. Slow breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the part responsible for rest and recovery. It sends a message through the vagus nerve, everything, telling your body to slow the heart rate, lower blood pressure, and relax. It's not just a mindfulness trick, it's biological regulation. That's why calm people breathe differently. Everything. Their breathing patterns keep their nervous system balanced, and that balance gives them emotional control. In psychology, everything. There's a term called emotional granularity. It means the ability to recognize and label your emotions precisely. Instead of saying, "I'm upset," you might say, "Everything. I'm anxious because I feel out of control." That awareness creates distance. Everything. It moves the emotion from being something you are to something you was experiencing. And once you can observe it, you can manage it. Everything. That's the beginning of mastery. When you become the watcher of your thoughts, not the prisoner of them. There's another layer to this, the stories you tell yourself. Everything. Your thoughts about stress can amplify or reduce it. Research shows that people who view stress as a challenge instead of a threat actually perform better under pressure and recover faster. Everything. That's because perception changes biology. When you interpret stress as an opportunity to grow, your brain releases hormones that increase focus and resilience instead of triggering fear. Everything. Calmness, then, isn't just what you do. It's how you interpret what happens. Picture a mountain during a storm. The wind roars, the rain falls, everything. Lightning strikes. But the mountain doesn't move. That's calmness. Not the absence of storm, but the presence of stability. When you cultivate that kind of stillness within yourself, everything. Life can throw its worst at you and you'll still be grounded. People around you might lose composure, but you'll respond with clarity. You'll think better, speak wiser, everything. And move smarter. Not because you're unaffected, but because you've learned to regulate your inner world first. Training your mind for calm doesn't mean you suppress emotions. Everything. It means you allow them without letting them lead. It's about feeling anger without becoming it, feeling fear without obeying it, feeling pressure without folding under it. Everything. Calmness isn't passive. It's active self-control. It's choosing how to move instead of being moved by everything. Start small. The next time you're stuck in traffic, everything. Or someone cuts you off, or your plans fall apart, use it as training. Instead of reacting, observe. Notice your pulse, your thoughts, your urge to respond. Then breathe. Everything. Count to 5 before saying anything, before deciding anything, before assuming anything. In those 5 seconds, your brain shifts from reaction to regulation. Everything. That's where calmness lives, in the space between stimulus and response. Over time, you'll begin to notice something extraordinary. Everything. You'll feel less drained by things that once exhausted you. Your patience will stretch. Your focus will deepen. Everything. You'll begin to sense peace even in motion, because calm won't just be something you practice. It will become who you are. Think of monks who meditate for hours. Everything. Or elite athletes who perform under pressure, or surgeons operating with precision during emergencies. What they all share is not superhuman talent. It's trained stillness. Everything. Their nervous systems have been conditioned through repetition to stay centered, even when the stakes are high. Everything. That's what separates emotional amateurs from masters, the ability to stay still inside, no matter what happens outside. And here's the beauty of it: you don't need a monastery, everything, or years of meditation, or a life without stress. You can train calmness right where you are, in your living room, at your desk, in the middle of daily life. Everything. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen that muscle. Because calmness isn't a gift, it's a craft, a skill you build day by day, breath by breath, choice by choice. Everything. It's science and spirit working together, your biology, your awareness, and your will aligning to create peace on demand. When you master that, everything, you don't need the world to quiet down for you to find stillness. You carry stillness within you, and that, more than anything, is real power. Everything. There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise around them feels too loud. Opinions, expectations, demands, all crashing together like waves that don't seem to stop. Everything. Someone criticizes you, a message throws off your mood, plans fall apart, and before you realize it, you're caught in the current, reacting, defending, proving, explaining. Everything. It's exhausting. But here's the truth. Calm doesn't come from fixing the chaos outside. It begins when you learn to stop letting that chaos control what happens inside. Everything. Detachment is one of the most misunderstood forms of strength. Many think it means not caring, shutting people out, or becoming emotionally numb. Everything. But real detachment isn't about disconnecting from life. It's about staying connected to your peace no matter what life brings. It's the art of observing without absorbing. Everything. It's being fully present, yet not owned by the situation. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, feeling the wind, hearing the thunder, everything, but knowing deep down that the sky inside you is still clear. That's emotional distance. That's mastery. Let's be honest. The world rewards reactivity, everything. Social media thrives on outrage. News headlines are written to provoke emotion. Conversations often turn into battles of who can be louder, not wiser. We're taught to respond immediately, everything, to prove ourselves, to have an opinion on everything. But calm people play a different game. They don't react to every vibration of noise. They pause, they breathe, they choose, everything. Detachment gives you that pause, that sacred space between stimulus and response where power lives, everything. Think about it. How many times have you regretted something you said or did when emotions took over? The angry message sent too quickly. The defensive reply, everything. The argument that started over something small but escalated into something that hurt someone you love. Reactivity feels powerful in the moment, but it almost always leads to regret later. Everything. Detachment doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you feel deeply but act wisely. I once met a man named Tariq who had built a successful business but was known for his temper. Everything. Every small setback sent him spiraling. If a client complained, he'd snap at his team. If a deal fell through, he'd take it personally. He said, "Everything. I can't help it. I just care too much." But caring isn't the same as losing control. After years of burnout, he began practicing emotional detachment. Everything. He started small. When something upset him, instead of reacting instantly, he'd take 5 minutes to breathe and observe the emotion. Everything. He said he began to notice patterns. That most of his anger wasn't about the event itself, but about fear of losing control, fear of failure, fear of judgment. Everything. Once he started noticing, he stopped reacting. His business improved. His relationships deepened. He told me, the more I stopped trying to control everything, the more everything started working. That's the paradox of detachment. The less you try to grasp, the more peace you gain. Detachment starts with awareness. Everything. You can't detach from something you don't realize you're entangled in. When a situation triggers you, a rude comment, a rejection, everything, an unexpected delay, notice what's happening in your body. Is your chest tightening? Is your heart racing? Everything. Are you forming a comeback in your head before the other person even finishes speaking? Those are signs of attachment. The mind gripping a story, wanting control, validation, or revenge. Everything. Pause there. Take one deep breath. Ask yourself, what am I actually feeling right now, and do I need to act on it? That pause can save you from hours of unnecessary stress. Everything. There's a beautiful line from an old philosophy that says, everything. You suffer more in imagination than in reality. That's what attachment does. It keeps replaying stories that amplify pain. Detachment breaks that cycle. It says, everything. I can experience this moment without turning it into a lifetime narrative. When someone criticizes you, detachment reminds you that their opinion is just data, not truth. Everything. When plans fail, detachment helps you see it as redirection, not disaster. When people pull away, detachment whispers that it's not rejection. Everything. It's alignment. The universe making space for what belongs. You see, emotional distance is not about running away from people or shutting down your heart. Everything. It's about loving without clinging. It's being able to say, I care, everything, but I won't lose myself in caring. That's how relationships thrive. When you stop trying to control outcomes and start allowing space for both people to be whole. Everything. The calmest relationships are not built on constant reassurance. They're built on trust. Trust that love doesn't need control to exist. Everything. One of the best ways to practice detachment daily is through mindful observation. Try this the next time you're caught in a stressful moment. Imagine you're watching yourself in a movie. Everything. See your emotions, your thoughts, your reactions, but don't interfere. Just watch. You'll start to notice how quickly your mind tries to assign meaning. Everything. They disrespected me. I failed. This always happens. But in reality, those are just stories. When you watch without judging everything, you start to see that most stress comes not from events, but from interpretation. Detachment helps you rewrite that script. Everything. It also helps to remember that people's behavior rarely has to do with you. Most of the time, when someone lashes out, criticizes, or withdraws, everything, they're projecting their own fears and frustrations. You just happen to be standing close enough to catch the splash. When you internalize that truth, you stop taking things personally. Everything. That's emotional freedom. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop bleeding every time someone else throws a stone. everything. There's a story of a monk who was once insulted harshly by a passerby. His students expected him to respond, but he simply smiled and walked away. Everything. When they asked him why he didn't defend himself, he said, "If someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, to whom does it belong?" That's detachment in action. Everything. The monk wasn't weak. He was wise enough to know that other people's negativity only becomes yours when you claim it. In modern life, detachment often begins with boundaries. Everything. Boundaries are not walls, they're doors you control. It's okay to say no without guilt. It's okay to protect your energy from constant negativity. Everything. You don't owe everyone an explanation. Detachment empowers you to choose peace over proving your point. Everything. You stop trying to win every argument because you realize that peace is the only victory that lasts. Of course, this isn't easy at first. Everything. The ego resists detachment because it feeds on drama. It wants to be right, validated, noticed. But the moment you start observing the ego instead of obeying it, everything, you begin to reclaim your power. You realize not every battle deserves your energy. Not every opinion deserves your attention. Everything. You become selective, and that selectivity becomes your serenity. Let's take an example from everyday life. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. You can either curse, honk, everything, and build tension, or you can breathe, accept, and use the moment to listen to music or reflect. The external situation hasn't changed, only your inner stance has. Everything. That's the essence of detachment, the ability to remain calm when circumstances refuse to cooperate. The same principle applies to emotional traffic. The chaos of people's moods, everything, the slow progress of goals, the noise of uncertainty. You can either wrestle with it or rise above it. The deeper you go into detachment, everything, the more you realize that calm doesn't make you less human. It makes you more effective. When your mind is steady, you think clearer. You communicate better. Everything. You see solutions that panic would have hidden. You become someone others trust. Not because you have all the answers, but because you don't crumble when things go wrong. Everything. That presence, that quiet confidence, is magnetic. There's power in learning to walk away without anger, to stay silent when provoked, to smile when someone tries to shake your peace. Everything. That's not avoidance. That's evolution. Detachment doesn't make you distant, it makes you divine. You begin to see life not as a battlefield, but as a classroom. Everything. Where every challenge teaches patience and every emotion is an opportunity to master yourself. So as you move through your days, practice observing without owning every emotion. Everything. Notice when your energy starts to shift and gently bring it back. The goal isn't to never feel. It's to never be ruled by what you feel. Calmness doesn't mean apathy. Everything. It means authority. Authority over your reactions. Authority over your mind. Authority over the story you tell yourself in moments of chaos. Because once you learn to detach everything, you realize something profound. Peace was never missing. It was just buried under layers of noise you kept trying to fight. When you stop wrestling with the world, everything, you uncover the stillness that was always there. And that stillness, that steady, quiet strength, is what turns ordinary moments into mastery. Everything. There's a truth about calm that most people miss. It's not a state you stumble into. It's a discipline you build. The mind doesn't suddenly wake up peaceful. Everything. It becomes peaceful through repetition, through choices, through small acts of control practiced over and over until they become part of who you are. Think of calm not as a destination, everything, but as a daily workout for your emotional muscles. Just like physical strength, emotional strength is earned through consistency, not intensity. Everything. We often admire people who stay composed under pressure. The leader who doesn't panic when everything goes wrong. The parent who stays patient when their child is melting down. Everything. The athlete who performs with clarity in the final seconds of the game. But what we don't see is the invisible training behind that calm. Everything. The moments no one noticed. The early mornings spent breathing through frustration. The quiet practice of pausing before reacting. Everything. The self-reflection after a mistake instead of self-judgment. Calm people are not naturally born that way. They've trained themselves to respond differently to life. Everything. Imagine your mind like water. When disturbed, it becomes cloudy and you can't see through it. But when it's still, clarity returns. Everything becomes visible. Everything. That stillness doesn't just happen by wishing for it. You must learn to calm the water again and again until it becomes your default state. Everything. One of the most powerful ways to begin this training is through breath. The breath is the bridge between your mind and your body, a language both understand. When stress hits, everything. Your breath shortens, your heart races, and your body prepares for battle. But when you consciously slow your breathing, you send a message to your entire system. I am safe. Everything. I am in control. You can't always control what happens outside you, but you can always return to the rhythm of your breath. Try this simple practice. Everything. When something stresses you, a rude message, an argument, an unexpected setback, take one slow inhale through your nose for 4 seconds, hold for 4, everything, and exhale slowly through your mouth for 6. Feel your body release the tension. That single act interrupts the cycle of reaction. It gives your mind space to choose a better response. Everything. Do this often enough, and your body begins to learn calm as its natural setting. But breath is just one doorway. Everything. True inner control requires a routine, a daily practice that builds mental stability, not in the extraordinary moments, but in the ordinary ones. How you start your day matters. Everything. The first few minutes after waking up set the tone for everything that follows. Most people reach for their phones, scroll through chaos, everything, and then wonder why they feel anxious before breakfast. You can't expect peace if you begin your day consuming noise. Instead, give yourself the first 10 minutes in silence. Everything. No notifications, no messages, just you and your mind. Sit quietly and check in with yourself. Notice your thoughts without judgment. If your mind is racing, don't fight it. Observe it. Everything. Think of it like watching clouds pass through the sky. You don't chase them, you just notice them drift by. That's mindfulness in action, the art of awareness without attachment. Everything. It's not about clearing your mind, it's about not being controlled by it. Consistency is the secret here. It's easy to be calm for a few minutes after listening to something inspiring. Everything. But real discipline is showing up every day, especially when you don't feel like it. It's in those moments that your mental wiring begins to change. Everything. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, works through repetition. Every time you pause instead of react, you strengthen the neural pathway of control. Everything. Every time you breathe instead of explode, you train your nervous system to associate calm with strength. Think of your emotions as weights in a gym. Anger, frustration, everything. Disappointment. Each one is a resistance exercise. When you face them consciously, you build strength. When you avoid them, you stay weak. Everything. The goal isn't to eliminate emotion, but to handle it with mastery. The more you train, the more your default response becomes calm instead of chaos. Let's take a real-world example. Everything. Picture someone stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. Most people grip the steering wheel, mutter under their breath, and let the stress hijack their body. Everything. Their mind starts spiraling. Why today? Why me? But imagine another person in the same situation who takes a deep breath, turns down the radio, and accepts what is. Everything. They can't change the traffic, but they can control their inner state. They use the delay to reflect, to think, maybe even to listen to an audiobook that feeds their growth. Everything. The situation is the same, the experience is completely different. The difference isn't luck, it's training. And here's the truth, the small, everything. Unseen choices you make each day are the foundation of your emotional stability. How you talk to yourself matters. Everything. Your inner dialogue can either be your greatest enemy or your greatest coach. Every time you catch yourself thinking, I can't handle this, and instead say, everything. I'm learning to handle this better. You are rewriting your mental code. Reframing is not denial. It's strategic awareness. Everything. It's choosing a perspective that gives you power instead of taking it away. You can turn any moment into practice. When someone irritates you, it's a test of patience. Everything. When plans fall apart, it's a test of adaptability. When you're uncertain about the future, it's a test of faith. Everything. Calmness is not the absence of challenge. It's the way you meet challenge with grounded presence. Even your environment affects your training. Everything. Surround yourself with stillness where you can. If your room, your workspace, your schedule are filled with clutter, your mind will reflect that. A calm mind thrives in calm surroundings. Everything. Simplicity is not boring, it's freeing. Make time for quiet walks, for journaling, for reflection. Protect your peace as if it were a rare treasure, because it is. Over time, everything. You begin to notice something shift. You stop reacting to small things. You stop being pulled by other people's moods. You start to respond with grace, with patience, with clarity. Everything. People might even ask, how do you stay so calm? And you'll know the answer, because you trained for it. Inner control isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about directing it. Everything. You can feel anger without becoming it. You can feel fear without feeding it. You can feel sadness without drowning in it. The discipline lies in awareness. Noticing what you feel, everything, allowing it to exist, and choosing your response with intention. You might have days when it feels like you've lost that calm, when stress overwhelms you, when your patience runs thin, everything, when your mind races beyond control. That's okay. Those moments aren't failures, they're feedback. They remind you where you still need training. Everything. Growth doesn't happen in straight lines. Some days you'll feel centered, other days you'll fall back into old habits. Everything. But every time you return to calm, even after chaos, you strengthen your resilience. There's something deeply powerful about realizing that peace is a practice. Everything, not a personality trait. You don't need to wait for the perfect circumstances to be calm. You can begin right now in the middle of whatever life is handing you. You can breathe. Everything. You can observe. You can choose. Every small act of inner control compounds into long-term stability. Over weeks and months, your emotional range starts to change. Everything. You stop chasing highs and fearing lows. You live from a more grounded place. The world still moves fast, but you no longer move with its chaos. You move with clarity, with intention. Everything. You've built a foundation that external noise can't shake. When you live like this, peace becomes strength, not something soft, but something solid. Everything. It's the quiet confidence that no matter what comes your way, you can handle it. Because you've practiced, you've built the habit. You've earned your calm. One breath, one pause, everything. One mindful choice at a time. You're driving home after a long, exhausting day. Someone cuts you off in traffic, nearly causing an accident. Your pulse spikes. Everything. Your first instinct is to yell, to honk, to react. In that split second, your mind fills with heat, frustration, adrenaline, and the sense that you've been wrong. Everything. But then you catch yourself, you breathe, you decide not to react. Instead, you focus on keeping your peace. The moment passes, you get home safely. Everything. That choice, that pause, might not seem like much, but in that tiny window of self-control, you demonstrated real power. That's what emotional maturity looks like in motion. Everything. The calm response, the deliberate pause, the power to choose peace over chaos. Every single day, life throws countless tests your way. People will misunderstand you. Plans will fail. Everything. Delays will frustrate you. Someone will say something thoughtless, or the universe will seem to be working against you. Everything. These aren't random annoyances. They're invitations to practice control. Each one whispers the same question: will you react, or will you respond? Reaction is instinct. Everything. It's the mind's autopilot. It happens when emotion overrides reason. A reaction is fast, impulsive, and often regrettable. It's the text you wish you hadn't sent. Everything. The argument that got louder than it needed to. The decision you made just to feel better for a moment. Reaction is energy without direction, fire without focus. Response, however, everything, is different. Response is awareness in action. It's the ability to slow down, observe your feelings, and choose the next move with intention. Everything. It's what separates emotional strength from emotional chaos. When you respond, you're not suppressing emotion. You're mastering it. You're letting wisdom, not impulse, lead. Everything. Think of a firefighter. When everyone else runs from the flames, they move toward them with focus. They've trained for chaos. They don't panic, not because the situation is easy. Everything. But because their mind is prepared. The same principle applies to life. You can't stop the fire from breaking out, but you can train your mind not to burn with it. The truth is, everything. We're conditioned to react. From childhood, we're taught to defend ourselves, to push back, to win the moment. But most of the time, everything, what we call standing up for ourselves, is really just reactivity disguised as strength. The loudest person in the room isn't always the strongest. Often, everything. It's the calmest one who holds the real power. The one who can keep their composure when others lose it. The one who listens before speaking. Everything. The one who can walk away instead of trying to prove something. That's not weakness. That's control. There's an old saying, between stimulus and response, there is a space. Everything, and in that space lies your freedom. That space, sometimes just a breath long, is where maturity lives. Everything. The ability to pause before reacting is one of the most underrated superpowers a human can develop. Let's make it real. Imagine you're in a heated conversation, maybe with a partner, everything, a coworker, or a friend. They say something that cuts deep. Your instinct might be to interrupt, to fire back with something sharper, something that reclaims power. But pause for a moment. Everything. Feel the emotion rise, the anger, the hurt, and then breathe. You don't deny it. You simply give it room to exist. You create space between what they said and what you'll do next. Everything. And in that pause, something shifts. You move from being controlled by emotion to being guided by understanding. You may still speak your truth, but now it comes from clarity, not chaos. Everything. One of the most powerful things you can ever learn is that calmness is not passivity. Calmness is precision. It's acting with intention instead of impulse. Everything. When you respond instead of react, you preserve your energy for what actually matters. You protect your peace, your relationships, and your reputation. And most importantly, everything. You stay aligned with the person you're trying to become. Reactions often come from old wounds, unhealed parts of us that feel the need to defend or prove something. Everything. When someone disrespects you, your reaction might not just be to them. It might be to years of feeling unseen or undervalued. That's why awareness matters. When you pause, everything, you give yourself time to recognize what's actually happening inside. Am I angry at this person, or am I triggered by a deeper story? Once you see it, you can choose differently. Everything. A simple exercise the next time you feel triggered. Don't rush to respond. Notice your body. Feel where the emotion lives, your chest, your jaw, your stomach. Breathe into that space. Everything. Label the emotion anger, fear, disappointment. When you name it, you tame it. The emotion loses some of its grip. Then ask yourself one question: what response would serve me best right now? Everything. Not what feels good immediately, but what aligns with who I want to be. That's how you turn a trigger into power. It's not easy. In fact, everything. Training your mind to respond instead of react is one of the hardest things you'll ever do, because the world rewards speed. We're taught to reply fast, decide fast, move fast. Everything. But emotional mastery lives in the slow moments, in the seconds you spend breathing before you speak, thinking before you post, listening before you judge. Everything. Those small pauses compound into a lifetime of better outcomes. You might think everything. But what if people walk over me if I don't react? Here's the truth. Calm doesn't mean you let people disrespect you. It means you choose how to address it intelligently. Everything. You can set boundaries without anger. You can assert yourself without shouting. You can stand firm without losing your peace. Everything. The goal isn't to suppress emotion, it's to guide it with discipline. Think of water. When it's still, it reflects clearly. When it's disturbed, it distorts everything it sees. Everything. Your mind works the same way. If you can keep it still when life stirs it up, you'll always see reality clearly, and clarity is where all your best decisions lie. Everything. Some of the most powerful leaders in history shared this same calm. Think of Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, yet walking out without bitterness. Everything. Or the martial artist who moves with grace while others flail in chaos. That level of restraint isn't born overnight. It's practiced. Every pause, every deep breath, everything. Every moment you choose patience over reaction is a rep for your emotional strength. Let's take a simple, modern example. Everything. You're scrolling through social media and see something that offends you, maybe a post you disagree with, or a comment about you. Your mind flares up. Everything. How dare they? You want to type a response immediately. But you stop. You remind yourself, is this worth my energy? 90% of the time, it isn't. Everything. You've just saved yourself stress, time, and the ripple effect of unnecessary negativity. That's not indifference. That's wisdom. Response-based living isn't about doing nothing, everything. It's about doing the right thing at the right time for the right reason. It's realizing that not every battle deserves your energy, and not every moment deserves your reaction. Everything. You start choosing your peace the way a warrior chooses their weapon, carefully and strategically. Here's a truth you'll come to see the more you practice this. Everything. Most situations don't require an immediate answer. The pressure you feel to react instantly is often just anxiety wearing urgency as a disguise. You have time. You can think. Everything. You can let silence work for you. Sometimes the most powerful response is none at all. Over time, as you practice pausing, you'll notice a shift. Everything. You'll start catching your reactions before they spill out. You'll hear your thoughts forming before your mouth moves. You'll begin responding with intention instead of emotion. Everything. And people will notice. They'll feel your steadiness. They'll trust your presence. You'll start to feel different, lighter, calmer, stronger. Everything. Because when you stop reacting to everything, you stop being controlled by everything. You become the calm in the room, the steady one in chaos, everything. The person who doesn't get pulled into emotional whirlwinds. And that presence, that quiet strength, will take you further than any impulsive reaction ever could. Everything. You'll learn that the moment someone tries to provoke you, they're giving you a test, not of your words, but of your mastery. Everything. You can either match their chaos or elevate the energy by staying composed. And when you stay calm, everything. Something powerful happens. The situation begins to adjust to your energy instead of the other way around. That's what it means to respond, not react. Everything. It's not just emotional control. It's energetic leadership. You guide the tone, the pace, the energy of your world. Everything. You stop being a product of your environment and start being its anchor. Every trigger is a teacher. Every pause is a victory. Everything. And every calm response is a reminder that you're not just surviving life, you're mastering it. Everything. There comes a point in your personal growth when calm is no longer something you chase. It's simply who you are. Everything. You stop trying to get back to peace after every challenge because peace never leaves you. It lives in you. You carry it like a quiet confidence. Everything. A grounded energy that doesn't need to prove itself. That's the essence of living unshakable. When you reach this level, everything. It's not that life suddenly becomes easy or that nothing goes wrong. The storms still come. People still test your patience. Unexpected things still happen. But the difference is everything. You've trained your nervous system, your thoughts, and your emotional patterns to respond from stillness, not from panic. Everything. You've become someone who no longer mirrors the chaos of the world but steadies it. Think about the calmest person you know. Maybe it's a mentor, a parent, everything. Or even a stranger you once observed in a stressful moment. Notice how their energy felt different, how they didn't rush to react or defend themselves. Everything. How their presence alone made everyone else feel safer. That kind of composure isn't luck, it's mastery. It's years of choosing reflection over reaction. Everything. Of sitting in discomfort instead of escaping it, of breathing when others break. That's what you're building. A mind so steady it anchors not only you but everyone around you. Everything. Living unshakable begins with awareness. You start noticing when something tries to pull you out of alignment, a rude comment, a delay, everything, an unexpected obstacle. And instead of letting it take over, you pause. That pause is everything. It's the space where you decide who you're going to be. Everything. Most people live in constant reaction, jumping from one emotional high or low to another, their peace entirely dependent on what's happening outside them. Everything. But the calm mind lives differently. It observes without absorbing. It sees chaos as information, not a threat. It asks, everything. What's this here to teach me? Instead of, why is this happening to me? Imagine you're driving in heavy rain. The road is slick, visibility is low, everything. And everyone around you is honking, switching lanes, rushing to get ahead. If you panic, you lose control. But if you slow your breath, keep a steady hand, and focus on the path ahead, everything, you make it safely through. That's how life works too. Chaos will always exist, but it doesn't have to exist inside you. Everything. One of the greatest misunderstandings about calmness is that it means being passive or detached. But calmness isn't about withdrawing from life. It's about meeting life from your center. Everything. You still act, still speak your truth, still pursue your goals. The difference is, you're not driven by fear or insecurity anymore. You move with intention, not impulse. Everything. And that shift changes everything, from how you handle relationships, to how you lead, to how you deal with uncertainty. Let's take an example. Think of a professional athlete, say, everything. A tennis player standing on the court in the final set of a championship match. The pressure is enormous. Every movement is under scrutiny. If they let nerves take over, their body tenses. Everything. Their focus breaks and performance collapses. But if they stay calm, if they breathe, ground themselves, and trust their training, they find clarity in motion. Everything. They see openings others miss. They move with grace under pressure. That's not talent alone. That's mental discipline, the art of staying composed when the stakes are highest. Everything. The same principle applies to everyday life. When your calm becomes consistent, you stop wasting energy on unnecessary emotional reactions. You don't spiral over things you can't control. Everything. You don't replay arguments in your mind. You conserve your inner power, and because of that, your energy becomes focused, your intuition sharper, your decision-making cleaner. Everything. Calm doesn't slow you down. It makes you more efficient, because you're not fighting yourself. There will still be days when your peace is tested. Everything. Someone will say something that triggers old patterns. A plan will fall apart. You'll feel that familiar urge to react, to defend, to argue, to rush. But that's your training ground, everything. That's the moment you practice. You remind yourself, I don't need to match their energy. I don't need to control this moment. I only need to control myself. With that awareness, everything, your nervous system relaxes. Your breath deepens. You create space for wisdom to emerge instead of emotion to explode. It's not about never feeling anger or fear again, everything. It's about not letting them lead your life. Even calm people get frustrated, but they know the difference between feeling an emotion and becoming it, everything. They let emotions move through them like weather, temporary, passing, and natural without letting them define the day. When you live this way long enough, calm becomes automatic, everything. You no longer have to try to be peaceful. It's just your baseline. You walk into meetings, conversations, everything, and conflicts with an inner steadiness that others can sense but can't quite explain. That's when calm becomes influence. People start to trust your energy. They listen when you speak, everything, because you're not adding noise, you're adding clarity. You become the person who brings order to disorder, not by force, but by presence, everything. There's a story about a monk who was once insulted in front of a large crowd. Everyone waited for his reaction. He simply smiled and said, everything. If someone gives you a gift and you don't accept it, who does the gift belong to? The crowd fell silent. The insult had no power because the monk refused to receive it. Everything. That's the essence of unshakable living. You stop accepting what doesn't belong to your peace. Practically, living unshakable means setting daily rituals that keep you anchored. Everything. You might start your mornings with silence instead of screens. You might take mindful pauses between tasks, grounding yourself with deep breaths. Everything. You might end your evenings with reflection, asking, what did I handle well today? Where did I lose my center? Everything. How can I return to it tomorrow? These micro-disciplines build the foundation of a calm mind. It also means protecting your inner environment. Everything. Just like you wouldn't let garbage pile up in your home, don't let toxic thoughts pile up in your head. Be selective about what you consume. News, social media, conversations. Everything. Energy is contagious. Choose the kind that feeds your calm, not drains it. Surround yourself with people who value peace, not drama. Over time, everything. Your mind becomes conditioned to seek balance naturally. Another important piece of living unshakable is learning to trust timing. Everything. Anxiety often comes from wanting things to happen faster, wanting answers, results, or validation immediately. But calm minds know that everything unfolds when it's meant to. Everything. They do the work, stay consistent, and let life meet them halfway. Patience is not waiting, it's confidence in motion. There's a quiet beauty in moving through life without rushing. Everything. You start to notice more. You listen better. You make wiser decisions. You connect more deeply with others. Calm doesn't remove intensity. It refines it. Your passion, your drive, everything, your creativity, all become more powerful when directed through a peaceful mind. In truth, living unshakable is an act of leadership. Everything. You become the model of how strength and serenity coexist. When others panic, you stay composed. When others complain, you stay constructive. When others react, you respond. Everything. Your calm becomes a silent message. There's another way to live. And people will feel it, even if they can't name it. Everything. You'll notice something beautiful happen too. Life starts to mirror your inner state. The more you live from calm, the more situations seem to resolve with ease. It's not magic, everything. It's resonance. You attract what you embody. Chaos struggles to survive where peace is practiced. So each day, remind yourself, everything. Being calm doesn't mean being indifferent. It means being powerful enough not to be disturbed. You can care deeply and still stay centered. You can move fast and still move mindfully. Everything. You can face storms and still stand tall. Living unshakable is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world taught you to rush, to fear, everything, to overthink. Calm is your natural state. You're simply returning to it. And when you do, when calm becomes not something you do, everything, but something you are, you step into a different kind of life. A life where peace is your power, where presence is your strength, where you don't chase balance, you embody it, everything. And that's when the world changes quietly through you. Because an unshakable mind doesn't just survive chaos, it transforms it.